Welcome to week 3. In this week, what we're going to do is to model the base, the cascade for that we will use later on our flip training. It'll try to be procedural. I'll do it in a procedural way, so you can modify whatever attribute you want before you do the sim, and also while you are doing the sim. Also depends on the width of the river. You need more or less particles. The specs of this simulation is this computer, and it was all I use almost 50 gigs of RAM. So let's start doing a base model that it will look more or less this way. We'll generate the rocks, we'll generate the depth of this river, and let's get started. Let's generate a new scene and save it as our project folder. Let's call it week 3. Let's name it Model Cascade version 1. Okay, everything's set up. We don't need any external files today, so let's start by creating a geometry. Let's name it Cascade. We will start with a box. Okay, this is our starting point. We will set the length. Let's put in 4, and the width of this cascade. Also the height, it shouldn't be that tall because we will do some extrusions. And let's change this guy to polymesh and add some nice subdivisions right here. Not much in Y, and let's leave it as that should be fine. This is our base model. The next thing we're going to do is a couple of extrusions that will define the different steps of this cascade. So what we can do is set up a side view, turn on selection with S or hitting this button, and let's select faces. This is the first selection of our cascade. What I like to do is first select the group, and then with Control I do the opposite and select the ones on the side. And once I go with spacebar 1 to make perspective view, I see that I selected the faces that I want to extrude. So the next thing we do is just hit a poly extrude under a poly shelf. Nothing happened until now, but we'll see a new node has been created with a group on it. This is the number of the faces that are inside that will be affected. So just by setting up the distance, we generate the first section of this cascade. Extrude or step 1, it's okay, 0, 1. Now we want to do the next step. What we can do is unselect with Control. In the selecting option, always hit it. We unselect what we want to be in the extrusion group. Hit again, it creates a new poly extrude, new step. We have to have in mind that the higher these steps are, the faster the river will be later on. That's why it's good that we have a full control once we start simulating, because we might change a lot these values. Okay, step 2 is this guy. Let's go back to our selection tool and unselect another group. Let's hit again polyextrude. Step 3. And let's just add one last group. Again, select, with control, and let's extrude. Step 4. So right now we have a kind of procedural modeling. We can set up the heights just by setting up the distance. Okay, so all good here. Now we'll modify a bit the loops, because we want to get some borders where I want to add some rocks. So we have a nice collisions in this part, and then we will add some rocks in the middle and some depth also to our cascade. Let's do next. Let's look into our top view with space bar 2. Let's go to point, select these loops and scale them. So we take them more to the border, so we get a thinner border. And edit node will be created. We can do some transformations to just this selection. So if we don't want to get this guy working, everything reset to scratch. So for now, let's keep it this way. I will also translate scale these loops right here, and selecting these faces, we will get the depth of our river. Let's switch again to our face selection, and there's a shortcut to select loops. That shortcut is Shift A. We have first to select our first face, with Shift A pressed, we'll see that we can select the loop of this selection, and just by translating down, we will give the depth to our cascade. We have to have in mind that the more depth is this river, the more particles we need later on. So if you don't have a lot of RAM in your computer, you better make it a bit flat, not that with not much depth on it. Okay, so let's keep it this way. It works really good, and we can probably add let's go to our top view, go to our point selection, Sorry, let's go back towards our view. Scale a bit this way. Okay, here we have what we wanted to get. Let's name it extra deformations. Let's save. And well, now what we want to do, let's first generate the rocks. We'll do some procedural modeling for them. We can start from sphere. Let's set the visibility. This doesn't matter for now. Let's set our guide to polygon and add some nice frequency so that we can get a nice details on it. Although you can later on add displacement, we will leave UVs and everything ready. The next thing we are going to do, we will add a group. The group, what allows us is to a selection of vertex or edge or faces added to a name, and use that name later on to do whatever modification we need. In this case, we will group some vertex from the bottom, and we will do a soft transformation so that we have a flat place to put it on our cascade. So by creating our group node, we'll see right now that this is our group name. Let's name it bottom selection. We want points this time, no vertex. What we can do also is drive the selection by a bounding box. Let's enable this guy, and we will see that in this bounding area a red box has been created. If we increase the size of this box, we can see that we have a selection of vertex inside that box. So this is exactly what we need. We can move the handles from this box or make the scale manually, and let's select the bottom vertex. That's it, no more than that. Let's name it group bottom and save this guy. Before doing this transformation, I will use another node that we will use it a lot. It is very useful, and we will create some nice deformations over our object based on a noise type, and it's the mountain node. We can drive the height, the element size, also scale. We have offset, we can add a time deformation, and also we have the type of node. As we saw on the point bob, that we have a turbulence option connected there. We can also drive the options, and the modification attributes are almost the same for every turbulent node. Okay, so you will get used to it really fast. So we can select whatever node type of turbulence we want. probably this way is not looking that bad. If we increase the subdivisions to our base object, we can see we have a nice detail over our rock. Once we are happy on what we have, we have also to take into consideration that later on we'll add some stamp over this to make some nice offsets, and to avoid that all the rocks look exactly the same. Now let's create a soft transform. This is some kind of soft modification based on a selection of on our vertex. And let's call it flat base. And this is easy. Almost every node that you have created has this group option attribute. Once you create a group, it will appear right here. So we can see that if we select this group, all the transformations will occur just in this place, just in the vertex selected. So for example, let's set up our scale to 0. We will see how our transform goes to 0 scale of our grid. What we'll probably forget to do is to transform this guy upwards, so we can have it on the base of our grid, and this way will be better for us to control where the flat section will be. So once modified this position, we have to modify also this bounding layer. So right now we can see how this rock gets flat on our base. We can also translate a bit and increase the soft radius. We can increase just manually this number if we don't have the option on our slider, but there I think that we are happy on what we are getting. So next we are going to use a fuse node. This fuse node will reduce our poly. It will make it as simple as possible, because what we want now is to generate some hard edge, not just this formation, but also I would like to add another pass of hard edge, and this can be achieved by using this fuse node. Let's see what it happens. It's a kind of let's name it poly reduce. And if we increase the distance, we will see how our rock it will start losing our details. We can probably exaggerate a bit this noise so as to get a more interesting low poly, low res distribution. That's looking pretty good. I think I'm glad what I'm getting. It's not more than modify and playing around with this value. Next, we are going to convert this polygon, this rock, into a BDB. The BDB is an open source format that has Houdini. It's very powerful, as you can manage the volumes in general. It can be hard surface or volumes, and we will use it a lot later on with flip simulations, but in this case it's also very useful. Also, it will be useful to use as scatter points in the interior. You will see we will use it a lot because it's very useful and very flat. Also for collisions matter, Houdini right now uses a lot as a basic, as a preset on our collisions. We'll see that later on, but it's good to know that this format exists inside Houdini and we will use it pretty much. So this BDB from polygons is the node that we will use right now. We have a voxel size. As I told you, this managed by volumes. We have voxels, not the polygons here. So the lower the voxel size, the more resolution we have on our object. But also it will take much time to cook. Right now it's pretty fast, so we won't have any issues. Let's keep this guy as a surface. We don't need to change anything from here right now. But we can see that now we have a nice defined edge on our rock. So now we want to go back to polygons. So let's convert it again to polygons. And now we can see that we have our mesh with our hard edge. This is what I wanted. And we can still play around with our rock-based deformation, and everything's procedural and working pretty good. Okay, here we are glad with our rock. So next we will add a second pass of deformation. We can copy, let's name these guys first so we have everything tidy. Back to polys. Okay, let's save this in. Let's create, we have a history here on our latest node, so let's create again a mountain node. We'll have probably some, let me check. Oh no, I think it's pretty good. Let me check something, probably we are having some, yeah, that was a visualized problem just by going back and getting into our geo. It's fixed, so no problem with that. If you see some strange things occurring, just go back and get inside. This problem maybe from this version, because 16.0 was everything working fine. But let's go back. Let's change a bit our noise. You can play around. We don't want this edge to be linear, but yet to have some nice deformation on it. We keep our flat section. And also what you can do is to play around with this different noise to see what results you have. Right now I will leave it as it is, but you can play around with these options and sliders a bit. But for now I think that's pretty good. second pass deformation. And as last option, let's add UVs to our rock. We won't mess up with this, so we'll just set up a polar and scale it big. So when stamping points and generate some random on these rocks, we will have a nice UV all over them. So let's switch to spacebar 5 and we'll see we have UVs here. So everything's good, everything's working, we are glad right now. And the last thing I will add is a transform node. And I want to put again our rock in the bottom of the grid, and also put up our pivot. We can go to our pivot attributes and put it on the base. So right now, if we want to scale, it will do the transformation based on our pivot. That's what we want. Okay. So we have our rock, we have our river, and let's start with our stamp point with our polygon selections. Let's go to the river. We will add some rocks right here now in the borders. So we will need to select those guys. Let's hit selection. Let's go to the face. And remember Shift A, we select a loop. Let's move to the other side. Press just Shift to select one face. And Shift A, select another loop. Let's save our scene. And let's delete this selection. Border. It will be name, and we can delete non-selected to invert our selection. Okay, here we have our borders. What we are going to do is to scatter some points on it. We don't want that much, we just want a couple of points there. Also, I want the scale radius to be higher, so this will separate our nodes and spread them, so we have a nice variation over these guys. Let's start right now to avoid some time cooking, to keep it down, keep it low. Points for rocks. And let's generate our copy stamp. On our face input is required the primitive, and the second point, it requires the points. Okay, now we have some giant rocks with same shape, same direction. Let's give some rounding to this. Let's first move the scales, this uniform global scale, sorry, not this one, this one, a bit lower. And what we're going to do, we're going to create some stamp attributes. Let's turn on the sky, don't forget it. And I want to add a variation in scale X, just to have a variation in this axis. I want to add some offset on our mountain node. And I want to add some offset on our scale, but on our global scale, right here. this guy, I want to add a stamp in there. So this is easy. It's the same we've seen on our previous week. I told you to write this down to have it on your notebook or near your monitor, because we're going to get tired of using it. It's our fit01. And we are going to do is a random on our PT, on our points. Okay. And I want a value from 0.85 to 1. Let's say 2. This is our first expression. The second one, it will be the same. $PT. But this offset, I need a larger range of numbers, as I want as much options as possible. So let's set it to from 0 to 1000. And the last thing is also another fit01, $1 PT. And this, I want it from, we set it up to 0.1, the global scale. So I want them from 0.075 to, let's say, 0.1. We can change values later on, so let's leave it this way. Okay, let's now start creating our stamp points. And the first one goes for this guy. I want to change this radius. I want to have some random variation on this value. So let's start my stamp. Bracket, 2 points, bar, to go 1 level up. Oh, I forgot to put quotation marks. Copy 1. We close quotation marks. Sorry, not that one. Comma. Between quotation marks, the attribute that we created. In this case, is scale X. And finally, a number, a preset number. Predefined, yeah, starting number. Can be anyone. Okay. Let's go to our we can see that, yeah, it's probably not that notorious. We can go to the stamp and increase and decrease these values, already 2.6 and 0. So we see we have some small bigger ones. Now we can see a better variation. So yeah, we are good. We are glad with this. So let's go now with let's go to the rock deformation. What I want to do is offset this guy, so we have a nice base mesh for the poly reduce. So again, stamp between quotation marks, 2 points, bar, copy 1, comma. Our attribute is offset and a random value. And we can copy and paste in our 2 other channels. And let's see what happened now. It will take a bit more to cook. So nice. We have different rocks, different shapes, but very similar size one between them. So I want to add our last standpoint here. Again, I can copy paste, but I prefer to write it down so we get used to it faster. And our attribute scale G. And let's see what's happening now. Okay, so now we have some smaller, some bigger. Probably the bigger ones, I don't want them that big. So let's update the value. Okay, that's not bad. What you can do is obviously add whatever variable you want, set a value, and you can map it to whatever also attribute you want. Maybe you can you want to change, I don't know, this height of the element size, or probably I don't know, the signal noise makes an offset here. Feel free to get used to this copy node, add attributes, modify them. You can use this expression or just a random $pt. Play around. You have to get used to it fast, so play as much as you can with this. So okay, now we are good to this. With this, we can increase this scatter value, but it will take longer to cook. We will set a higher value later, and also save it into disk, so it will be faster. We will avoid cooking time spent wasting time in that. So what's our next step is to create let's see what's happening now. Let's add a mesh node here and our cascade here. Yeah, we need a lot of points here, so I will add it later on. But we will add rocks here. We will use another technique. We will paint with brush, and we will define the areas where we want and we don't want rocks. But everything will be based on scatter, and we'll add some expressions. Let's save this. First of all, I need the selection for the base of the river. Select the face, and with Shift A, remember we can select some loops. Keep pressed Shift A. With Shift A, select another loops until we have the interior of our cascade. Check that we don't have any other faces selected. That's good. Delete it. If you shake this node, it will be disconnected from the network because we don't want it this level, we want it this level. And let's make an invert. Now we can see just the geometry we want it. So our base of our bottom. Our brush, so to paint needs some nice subdivisions, so we will subdivide a couple of times. Okay, and once we made that, we will create a node called called paint. First of all, just to make sure that everything is 100% white, because we will paint this black. Let's create a color node that will give a constant color to all our surface, and also we'll create a color attribute. So okay, just by getting the points constant and white color, we are good with this. Now we're going to paint our areas. Select the node, and here we have the colors, the color we are going to use, and the operation that we are going to get. I want a dark a black color. Let's keep paint. Also make sure you have this handle selected, so the brush will activate. We can change the radius of our brush by pressing Shift and dragging with left mouse button. So let's set up the radius and start painting. We can put the display flags here and just paint wherever you want to get some rocks. Okay, let's set this work. We can erase change by selecting the white. Okay, that's better. Okay, later on you can keep on painting, no problem with this. Just define a nice cool area. What I want to do now is to delete the white areas. I just want to keep the dark ones. So let's add a delete node. What I told you last time is that you can delete also by expressions. Okay? So you can select the number by delete by expressions, and we're going to keep these as primitives, or points probably. Let's keep as points, because the attribute of color is a point attribute. And we want to type here our expression. As I told you in previous weeks, $C is a variable for color, and then you select the channel RGB. As you all know, white color is 100% of red, green, and blue. So we can use whatever channel we want. I just use red because I want. And let's say that when the color is greater to 0.1, delete it. Let's put on the flag on our delete white node, and let's modify this value just to see the updates. Nothing is happening because we have to move back to primitives. I think we are having again a visualize problem. So yeah, let's go back and get inside, and now we'll see how it refresh. Again, this version should be having some issues. You can try with 16.0, it's the same, or I will later on do some investigation or some research about this. So no problem, just go back and get inside. And again, let's use some scatter nodes just to set up the areas we want rocks. Let's put, I don't know, for setting up them now, let's say 25, it's fine. Let's move this a bit down. Let's use, every time you select the node it will cook, so you can skip this by pressing escape. And what I want to do now is to create a new copy, a brand new one, and plug our rocks. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, so we keep our attributes. I didn't want to create that. You can set up into manual if you don't want to cook every time you select the node. It's annoying, but don't forget to turn it on. So what we want is to connect these nodes. Okay, let's displace this guy, and nothing's happening because this is not auto update. But well, what happens? Oh, again, we see the same rocks with the same size, no stamp over it. And the problem is that our stamp is only aiming to our copy 1, not to our copy 2. So what we will do is just make a copy of our rock tree. Sorry, and let's modify copy 1 and change it to copy 2. Everywhere that we use copy 1. Tab, and you move to the next attribute. And finally, this guy. 2. Okay, I want to change the connection, and once it finished to cook, okay, we'll see our rocks, and we can plug them on our mesh. So nice. We have our border rocks, we have our inside rocks. What I don't see is my base, because we changed the tree a bit. What we need to do is to move this side and redirect our connection. Now let's give it some time. Okay, now we have our river with our rocks. Nice. Okay, Let's add some. Let's do some caches so we can add a lot of points here and also the river, and we'll also add some nice mountain deformation to our river. Our node to cache file is file cache. Create a node and plug it after our copy. I don't want again this update to here. And let's name cache border rocks. Once the node is created, we see a couple of variables here. Let's go one by one. $heap is where our Houdini file is saved. That's clear. It will create a folder called geo, and our file, it will be named $heap name, that it's our file name without the .heap or heap nc if you are using non-commercial. $s, what we'll do is to grab our node name. $f is the frame. We don't need $frame as we will cache only one frame. We will need, in case we have some deformation occurring on the rocks or some animation over them, yes, we'll need to cache them every frame. bgeo is the cache format number, name for Houdini, and sc is compression type. Here we have also same frame range. We don't want this, we want the save current frame. And if we turn on load from disk, now we will get an error, as if we dive into the folder, we have anything here. This is just from the Spanish course, so nothing created right now. If you middle click here, you can get the full path. You can see as a cache border rocks, it will take the same number, so everything's working good. I don't want the $frame. Nice. So let's first of all increase to 75 the amount of points and rocks. Select the cache node and save to disk. This will take some time. And once this cook is made, it will save it to our disk. So here we have our cascade file. It's not updating, and we have this as manual, so now get back to auto update, and now we'll see a nice amount of rocks in our border, and our scene is super fast now. Nothing is cooking. Let's switch this guy again, and let's copy this node. This will be called bottom. As I came here and selected the name of our file, it override. So let's type it again so that we learn how to do it. $heap name is the variable to get our scene file. $OIS to get our node name .bgo .sc. That's it. We leave everything as it is, and we want to increase, not that much, but 7 is okay. Select our node and save to disk, and let's wait for it to cook, as it will be only once. We can wait for it. So next, what we are going to do next, we'll add some subdivisions to the rest, to the cascade geometry. We will add some deformation, and we will get everything organized to get just to access the node in a faster mode. Auto update. Okay. Yeah, now we have our cascade. Save this. Now we have our cascade. Let's add a subdivide. Let's set the type to linear. So we still have these steps. We can probably get 4. Okay. And again, let's add a mountain. Same thing happens, so go back and then inside again. Rock deformation. And also feel free to play with these values. Nice. That's good. Remember that the more deformation you have and randomness everywhere, later on the water simulation will be more real. So, okay, here is our cascade model. So I will add some, you can group the nodes, adding some gray network box. And you can set names so as to find things faster. Rock. If you hit C, you can get a color palette, so you can also give color to our boxes. And this way you can find and modify things in a faster way. Rock border. Let's add this as one group. So this is, let's say, this. Let's you can just by selecting modify the color, And let's put this as output. So now you can find your nodes faster. You can also color them. I like to put cache in black. And also what is also used, probably the ones that have standpoints. Just to find them faster, you can set them a color. And well, that's it. Here we have our cascade ready to use it in Flip in the next weeks. So save the file and try your own, make some variations, modify the rocks, add some rocks, add passes, paint other areas, just make your own model that we will use it, so you have 100% to do it.